No doubt, air travel today remains safe, thanks in part to accident investigation. Findings from accident investigators pave the way for changes to be made in aviation. The results of the accident investigation process are the recommendations. These safety recommendations in the air transportation industry are the engines that drive needed changes. When an accident or an incident occurs, the resulting investigation will attempt to find out what happened and why. On this edition of the program, we take a look at how these recommendations impact on air safety in Nigeria. This is Aviation This Week on Channels Television, and a warm welcome to you. I'm Bukola Joe Ketumbi, and our background report is next.
The International Air Transport Association has called 2014 the safest year ever for commercial aviation. The association says there were fewer serious accidents last year than at any time in the history of flights. The global airline body says 3.3 billion airplane passengers completed safe flights in 2014. Yet, IATA says the number of deaths in air accidents was above the average of recent years. The rate of worldwide jet accidents fell to 0.23 per million flights, or roughly one accident for every 4.4 million flights flown. The figure is the lowest single-year rate in history and markedly below the average of 0.58 accidents per million flights for the preceding 5 years. Overall, including both jet and turboprop aircraft, the airline industry suffered 73 accidents in 2014, according to the report. Of those, 12 were fatal, killing 641. Despite the strong safety record, 2014 likely will be remembered for two flight catastrophes involving Malaysia Airlines MH370 and the MH17 that crashed at the ground in Ukraine on July 17 after being shut down over airspace controlled by pro-Russian separatists. The tragedy killed 298, sparking international outrage over the possibility that the separatists were responsible. Russia continues to deny any involvement. The International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, a United Nations body that regulates global aviation, proposed after MH370 that commercial aircraft report their position every 15 minutes instead of the current norm of 30 to 40 minutes. According to the report, Africa still is the least safe continent, accounting for 43% of all fatal airliner accidents, while the continent only has approximately 3% of all world air traffic. This is also reflected by the fact that on average, African nations score 4.6 on a scale of 10 in aviation safety audits performed by the International Civil Aviation Organization. Here in Nigeria, after 5 years of safe skies, the fatal crash of Dana Airlines on June 3, 2012, and that of Associated Airlines on October 3, 2013, entered the records. Just recently, the Accident Investigation Bureau announced that the draft of the final report of the Dana plane crash is ready and has been sent for the mandatory 60 days as prescribed in the Annex 13 to the Convention on International Civil Aviation for comments and suggestions. The Accident Bureau said that in accordance with Annex 13 to the Convention on the ICAO and the Nigerian Civil Aviation Act 2006, The agency also released 4 other final reports on its website, attributing the crashes in the country between 2006 and 2011 to poor weather condition, non-functional instrument landing systems, and poor judgment by pilots. The 4 accidents included the November 10, 2006 AOS helicopters crash with registration number 5N-BHU, which happened in Ovian near Osubi Airstrip, Warri, Delta State. The report also covered the accident involving Wings Aviation with registration 5N-JAH, which occurred in Bushi Village, Obanliko, near Bebi Airstrip, Obudu, on 15th March 2008. The other 2 crashes were Aero Contractors Boeing 737-500 with registration number 5N-BLE at runway 28, Yakubu Gowon Airport, Jos Plateau State, on 21st August 2010, and Bristol. The agency also made safety recommendations to the appropriate parties involved, as well as the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. Overall, the purpose of air accident investigations is not to apportion blame or liability, but to enhance aviation safety.
Our guest is the top accident investigator at the Accident and Investigation Bureau here in Lagos, and he gives us reasons why it takes a long time for the final report of any investigation to be ready, and our recommendations from AIB's report are receiving the due attention.
In aviation, when it comes to accident investigation, most of these things, everyone is committed. They don't charge money per se. So they do it at their own time, depending on the amount of pressure and the urgency. And we do realize that we have to work with them, bearing in mind their own commitment. Like simulator, we also did a simulator session. And it was only when the simulator was available that you will get people to convene both the FAA, NTSB, NCAA, the operator, and us to convene and carry out certain simulation scenarios to see why what happened, and then to see whether the operation of the aircraft within the given flight envelope will sustain what the manufacturer said it should in relation to the accident. We did all that. So it does take time. The engine tear down for 2 engines takes time, man-hour, and then analysis. Then the suspect components were taken to different MROs and different equipment, original equipment manufacturers, we call them OEM. And it takes time from one stage to the other. So it is through the safety recommendation that will prevent reoccurrence of any of these accidents. And in fact, that is the major reason for our investigation. It's not punitive. We don't want to crucify any person, or when you go to criminalization and punitive action, people will go underground. You will never get the facts. And the most important thing is to get to the bottom of that, the causal factor, contributive factor, including latent factors. And then you now get to the bottom of the problem. Solve it once and for all, make safety recommendation, and you are sure that that accident will not happen again. There were lapses in so many areas in most of our investigations. And then we're working with NCAA to make sure that their oversight function will take care of those, because we cannot implement our safety recommendation, but it's left for NCAA to implement them. And Now we have an agreement where we sit with NCAA on quarterly basis to review all our safety recommendations and then address not only NCAA, NCAA in turn sits with other stakeholders. But for now, we sit on quarterly basis with NCAA and we're working very well with them. And that's why we've achieved more than 60% now. Next time we sit around, we'll find out that we'll close so many issues and see that air safety is being enhanced at any point in time. We have many that are still pending. They are pending either we're waiting for an input like the associated. The last input we're waiting for a component examination is expected in the next fortnight. And as soon as we get that input, we should be able to tidy up that report as well. Now we have the lab working, we should be able to download most of our black boxes instead of waiting for them to be done overseas. With cutbacks all over the world, they tend to concentrate on aircraft that are within their registry or manufactured by that country. And it's not an easy thing because they don't charge for them. And in our own case, if we should download for member countries in the sub-region, we are not obliged to charge. So you phase them in at your own convenience. We operate a non-punitive system. It upsets them. They want the culprits to be dealt with. But we tried as much as possible to explain why our investigation is non-punitive, why you cannot take it to the courts. You can't use our report for to facilitate any court action. It's not in Nigeria. Remember that this is not Nigerian aviation. It's a global aviation. And it's in line with ICAO Annex 13, which is the bedrock of our investigation process. That's the protocol we adopt. If you go to America, except where there's sabotage, then it falls with, it goes to the security services to lead the investigation, who will now become technical advisors. But when it is normal investigation, it is non-punitive. And that is when you get the right response from people who will come volunteer information, and then you get to the bottom of the issue.
Investigating any air accident is